All right, good morning, online family and friends. This is your favorite Sunday school teacher, third vice president of Usher Board number 4, head custodian at New Zion Missionary Baptist Church, K. Edward Copeland, and we're coming to you through the facilities of New Zion Missionary Baptist Church today on September the 8th, 2024. This is the day the Lord has made, and we're definitely going to rejoice and be glad in it. You might watch this teaching later on in the day, later on in the week. Whenever you engage this material, we're asking that you would take the opportunity to speak out in the comment section, to hit the hearts and likes, and to answer the questions that we'll be asking here during our time together. As always, as we come into this digital space, we're asking everybody to check in. That is, to let us know how you're doing today, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. Use your words, and with a word or a phrase, let us know how you're doing today. And then after that, we want you to give us the top 3 things that you're most grateful to God for today. So we're going to get ready to get started here as soon as everybody starts checking in, and as soon as we get some feedback as it relates to whether or not you can hear and see us well. Looks like we're coming through HD in terms of seeing. Let's see, daughters, as you come on in the room, can you hear well? Can you hear us? Let's see. The prophetess says you can hear us, so we're going to go off with that. Grateful to God. How many of you know, and some of you, maybe you can relate to this week, the older you get, the more you realize that the old folk weren't just saying just cliches. They actually meant what they said. How many of you know that the Lord really is a doctor in the sick room? That he actually is a lawyer in the courtroom. And he actually is a mother for the motherless, a friend to the friendless. How many can testify that somehow during this week the Lord has shown you something about himself that you kind of knew, but you heard that it was true, but now you've experienced it for yourself? Why don't you give the Lord a shout out if he's done something extra special for you this week? Let me know what you're most grateful to God for, the top 3 things. And also, how are you doing? How are you doing today? And I want to point this out. We're going to get into our lesson. We're going to finish up this lesson on routines today. As a matter of fact, we're going to talk about disrupted routines and how God sometimes, even when we have gotten into a good routine, why does God sometimes disrupt our routines? We'll look at that momentarily, but I want you to meditate on the goodness of God here for another moment as everyone else is coming in. Did you realize that God is good regardless of how you feel? And that if you can learn how to just recollect, here's what the old hymn writer would say: count your blessings, name them one by one. Count your blessings, see what the Lord has done. I've forgot the rest of the hymn, but you know, you get the idea. Is that you'll be surprised what he has done if you just take the time to actually recollect, to actually remember. Wait a minute. Last week I was praying about such and such, and the Lord came through. Or, man, on Tuesday I was worried about such and such, and I forgot that Wednesday God worked that thing out. You know what? I was broke last week, and I got 2 nickels today. Listen, if you would just recollect, here's how the old folk, I know I'm talking to old folks this week about the goodness of Jesus. Hang on. In all that he's done for me, that changes the whole atmosphere. See, my soul cries out, hallelujah. Thank God for saving me. So go on and brag on God for just another minute, another 30 seconds here. I'm ready to get into my lesson. We're going to sort of review right quick some foundational principles that we've been talking about the last few weeks. And then I really want to get into this thing today as it relates to our routines and the disruption sometimes God brings in our routines. I need you to brag on God for another 15 seconds here. Go ahead and type in what you're most grateful for, how good God has been. And I'll remind you once again, doesn't matter how you feel today. Now, acknowledge how you feel. Be honest about where you are. If you're feeling sluggish, if you're excited, if you're irritated, if you're delighted, whatever. Matter of fact, I think I'm going to send back out. We call it emotional wheel, that little emotional wheel. I'm going to send that back out or either post it some kind of way, somewhere so you can have a lexicon so you can figure out what word you want to use. Instead of, if somebody asks you, well, how you feel today? Well, you just got a bad attitude. Well, what does that mean? Are you irritated, aggravated? Are you disgruntled? Are you disillusioned? Use your words. You grown now. Use your words, but just remember, wherever you are, isn't where you have to be, because God has given you agency, and you can, like David said, I'll bless the Lord at all times. His praise shall continually be in my mouth. You can command your soul like David did. He said, bless the Lord, oh my soul. He wasn't talking to nobody else. He said, bless the Lord, oh my soul. Wait a minute. And all that's within me, bless his holy name. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, and forget none of his benefits. In other words, I'm going to recollect, I'm going to remember all the blessings and benefits he's bestowed upon me. Who heals all our diseases, forgives us of all our iniquities, crowns our lives with good things, all that type of stuff in Psalm 103. All right, I'm ready to get at it. I think we have enough people who've checked in. So we've been talking about ruts and rituals and routines for a good 4 or 5 weeks, I think. And I want to remind you that as you move toward purpose, as you recognize that God has, by his sovereign grace, established everything to work best when it's working in rhythm, when it's working according to a routine. When your heart gets out of rhythm, when your heart doesn't follow the regular routine that your heart's supposed to follow, we call that AFib, we call it arrhythmia, all this kind of stuff. You got to go see the doctor. Doctor said, what's wrong? Said, my heart is out of rhythm. It's not going according to the routine that it's supposed to go. Everything God created is supposed to work according to a rhythm. It gets into a routine. Now, if you're not careful, here's the problem. If that routine or that rhythm that has been established is not moving you toward a goal, it's not moving you toward purpose, it's not doing what it's supposed to do, then actually you can find yourself in a rut. So you have a regular routine of de-stressing when you come home from work. Let me give you 2 different examples of the difference between a routine and a rut. You are stressed when you come home from work. So here's a rut. You grab the Doritos because you want something to crunch on. Or if you're depending on where you are hormonally or how you were raised from your orientation family, maybe you grab a pint of ice cream and just get up into bed. You're stressed. And so the way that you have determined, the routine that you use to deal with your stress is emotional eating. Now it's become a rut. Why? Because have you ever met anybody that can eat one Dorito? I ain't met them. Maybe they exist somewhere. I don't know. But Doritos, by engineering, by definition, by design, are seasoned and calculated to keep you eating them. You ain't gonna eat one Dorito. Matter of fact, have you ever seen what a serving of Doritos is supposed to be? every food known to man. They put on the back of the thing, said now, one serving is thus and so and this and that and other and blah, blah, blah. And you're supposed to eat one serving. You done looked up, you done ate the whole bag. I ain't talking about the little snack pack. You done ate the whole bag of Doritos. And then your blood pressure up because there's too much sodium. Your belly is expanding because there's too much, cholesterol and this, that, and other. And then now you more depressed the next day because whatever was depressing you, now you done added on top of that bad health. You see? That's a rut. It's not, you said my routine is eating Doritos or eating a pint of ice cream every time I come home. But that rut is, that ritual and that routine is not helping you to achieve a desired outcome. As opposed to, you say, well, I'm stressed. You know what? I'm going to give you two. You know what? We got a new library down here in Rockford. Matter of fact, it overlooks the river. Yeah, if you're in Rockford, have you been to the library? If you haven't, you need to go down there. It's world class. You said, you know what? I'm going to go. As a matter of fact, they got a reading room. They're a quiet room. They're on the second floor. On my way home, I'm going to stop by the library. Free! I'm going to stop by the library. And even if I don't pick up a book, I'm going to just go and sit and look out by the river and look at the beauty and all that kind of stuff until I get de-stressed. Or say, you know what? The YMCA done expanded. Let me go on down here to the Y. You been to the Y? If you're in Rockford, have you been to the YMCA now? They didn't expand it. Man, they twice as big. They got this and that, got everything you can ask for. So I'm going to go down here to the Y. And either I'm going to walk by the river if it's nice, but let me get a little membership here and go in there and see. And guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to walk or I'm going to work out because my desired outcome is not only less stress, but better health. See, now I done got into a routine that's getting me to a desired end as opposed to a routine that's taking me further away from my purpose. You see? So that's rituals and ruts and routines. Well, what did I tell you that you need to do? Let's review this. I got to get going here. I'm taking too much time. Give me 2 more minutes to review this, and then we got to get to what I'm trying to get to today. Now, remember, you need to reflect on the season that you're in right now. So where am I at? Daughter just told me down at the Y, they got this thing, e-gym, where you can get on a little machine. They got this at my gym too, a similar type of thing. You can get on the little apparatus. They'll tell you what your cardiology, what your cardiac age is, what your body fat is. The one I go on, they'll tell me how much muscle versus fat and how much this and how much that. What am I doing when I get on there? Let me see, where am I? What season am I in? I'll never forget the first time I went on one of the machines. I think I was, if I'm not mistaken, I think I was about 55. And I had been going to the gym, and the little gym owner said, man, come on, get on this new machine. Let us see what your biological age is. That's what it is. What's your biological age? What's your cardiology age? What's this and that? I said, okay, let me get on here. I got on there, and I've been working out. And the thing said, well, your biological age is 58. I said, the devil is a lie. I was 55 at the time. I said, the devil is a lie. I said, what the, man, there's a machine there. He said, no, man. I said, ain't the machine. He said, listen, this the season that you're in. I said, but I feel pretty. He said, yeah, you feel pretty good. You look pretty good. He said, but you got too much visceral fat. I said, visceral fat? He said, yeah, that's fat down on the inside. I said, Lord, I'm fat down on the inside. I said, what? So wait a minute. Once I figured out what season I was in, then I developed routines that would give me my desired end given where I was. So you got to figure out, okay, now what season am I in? We've been talking about physical. But what about emotionally? What about spiritually? What about financially? So you can't listen, God doesn't meet us in our fantasy. He meets us in reality. Get your little finances together. Don't be guessing about how much money you got. You just keep on swiping until it stops swiping. No, stop swiping, swiper. Who's that? That's Dora the Explorer. And they got a character on there, Swiper. Quit swiping, swiper. You can't just keep on buying until the alert come up when you overdraw. How much money is coming in? I'm talking about, type in, reflect on your season. Type this in, reflect on your season. That is, what season are you in financially? How many years toward retirement? Or maybe you're just starting out. I was just talking to baby Titus. He just got his first job out of college. I'm like, okay, and I have no doubt he's going to do this because he's got great acumen as it relates to finances. I'm like, okay, start taking out retirement. Listen, if you do what you're supposed to do now, starting out, you could easily be a millionaire well before it's time for retirement. Why? Because the nature of compounding interest, make the interest work, make the money work for you, all that kind of stuff. But you got to start early. If you start early with a routine, you'll have a desired end. You see? So financially, all I'm asking is, what season are you in? Did you just start a new job? Did they just give you a raise? If they just gave you a raise, don't spend the raise. Act like you didn't get a raise and put that money either in savings or invested or whatever, because you're in a season of abundance. If you're looking toward retirement, well, you got to tighten up some stuff. What season are you in? Reflect on that season and then determine what are the key indicators, the key metrics, the key things that I'm going to keep on monitoring. So you concerned about your health or whatever, like I am. So guess what? I have oh, wait a minute. Let me tap it in this way. So right now, everybody should be with us in our 30-day fitness challenge. Let me talk about, I'm talking about key indicators right now. What are the things you're monitoring? Matter of fact, I want you to give a shout out to whoever your battle buddy is. Type your battle buddy, tag them in on the comment section, whoever your battle buddy is. But key indicators. One of the things you had to do this past week, I don't know if it was yesterday or day before yesterday, you had to brush your teeth standing on one leg. Now, that look on paper, that look like, well, how does this got to do with fitness? Why are we even doing that? Okay, did you try it? Because one of the key indicators moving forward as it relates to your health is balance. Can you stand on one leg when you're brushing your teeth? Now, if you can't do that, okay, that lets you know something. Okay, I need to monitor this because as I move forward in seasons of life, I want to make sure that I'm paying attention to my balance and doing things that will enhance my balance. Why? Because the preacher then told me that falls, that is, how often you fall as you get up in age, is a predictor of how long you're going to live. If you fall so many times within a certain span of time, depending on your age, that is letting medical professionals know, and it's a very accurate predictor that, man, you ain't going to be here long. Why? Because you haven't been getting in the routine of monitoring your balance. So I want you to keep on working on that, even though it was just for one day. I want you to try that again next week. To brush your teeth, standing on one leg, so you can see what season that, man, I can't even do this for 10 seconds. Well, I need to work on my balance. Maybe I need to take a Tai Chi class or Pilates or, what do you call it, yoga or whatever. They even got games on video games that will help you with your balance. All those types of things. All I'm trying to say, children, is you got to monitor the key indicators that will drive you toward your desired outcome. If I want to be healthy, I got to monitor my balance. I got to check on my strength. What's my blood pressure? How my blood pressure doing? What's my A1C? Okay. Well, if I'm monitoring, if I want to be better in my relationships, what are the key indicators? What season am I in right now? If I'm in a season where I need more accountability, well, I need to reconnect with some friends and make sure that I'm paying attention to the friendships that God is allowing me to develop. down at the library, down at the gym, over here when I go to Wired Cafe and I'm sitting and I'm meeting new people. So, okay, well, man, I've seen this fella a couple of times. Let me develop a relationship because my desired outcome is to be flourishing in my old age. And I know one of the key indicators for flourishing in old age is being connected with community. Connected with community. I want you to type that in. Connected with community. You can't flourish. I don't care what you cannot flourish physically, emotionally, spiritually if you're not connected in community. That's a key indicator. What are my relationships like? What my daddy used to say, I think my sister's on here, so Monica help me. Daddy used to say, old friends are precious and rare. What is it? He had a poem about friendships, and basically he was talking about the idea of the poem is that old friends are like diamonds, precious and rare. True friends are like diamonds, precious and rare. False friends are like leaves. You can find them anywhere. It was something like that. I might be misquoting it, but you get the idea. You gotta, are you connected with true friendships? Because friends will help you with your diet. Did you know that if you hang around people who eat right, you gonna eat right? You hang around people, now you're supposed to walk with it. That's why you got a battle buddy. We was out here walking, Wednesday night. About 30 of us walking here to campus and all this kind of stuff. We're going to walk again this upcoming Wednesday and then have prayer and Bible study. But did you know that if you have a workout partner, you're more likely to be consistent in your workouts? Did you know if you got accountability in your finances, whether it be a professional financial advisor or just somebody who's good with finance, if you hang with, here's what the Bible would say, he who, and I'm paraphrasing it right now, he who walks with the wise will become wise, but a companion of fools will suffer harm. If you hang around wise people, guess what you're going to be? Wise. You hang around fools, guess what you're going to be? A fool. You need accountability, children. Let me get off of this. So you got all of this. You need to pay attention to what you need to be measuring in this season and why. What are the key indicators? You need to make sure that the routine that you have is designed, that it's actual routine designed to get you to a desired end, not a rut that you have fallen into because of how you were raised or because you've just defaulted into Doritos and Haagen-Dazs. But you actually have a desired outcome that this routine is helping you to achieve. You got accountability. You need to make sure you got enough people on your team to help you to get to that. Now, let's talk about this. This is really what I was trying to get at today. This idea of what about disrupted routines? Now, I want to spend a few moments talking about this idea of discipline, discernment in disrupted routines. That sometimes, and I want you to listen carefully because now we're done with routines 101. Now let's get to grad level routines and understanding things. Okay, I got a routine is designed to get me to a desired end. I have accountability and I'm trying to move forward by God's grace. What happens when my routine doesn't seem to be getting me any traction? I want you to open up your Bibles to Luke chapter 5. I want to point out a few things here. Luke chapter 5, first few verses. Yeah, I think this will help us now because here's some good news. Sometimes you can have your team, you have your little routine, you have a desired outcome, and ain't nothing working. You say, now what's this about? What's happening here? Now, this is interesting because if I'm looking at this right, and I'm going to give you more than one biblical example, that isn't, listen carefully. Let me cut across the field and say it this way. As you grow in grace, it's not enough just to have the proper routine and the proper discipline to maintain that routine. But along with your discipline, you need discernment to recognize when God has disrupted your routine for a greater good. Listen again, children. This is grad level now. As you grow in grace, it's not enough to have the proper routine. You got a desired end, you got routines, you got your accountability, and you have the discipline. You're following the routine. It's not enough just to have the discipline. You need discernment. Everybody type in discernment. Type it in, discernment. You need discernment along with discipline to recognize when God is disrupting your routine for a greater good, a higher goal, a greater purpose. Sometimes God wants to do something better than what you had imagined. And what he will do is disrupt your routine. But if you ain't got no routine, he ain't got nothing to disrupt. If you ain't got no routine, if you don't have the discipline, he can't really do what he desires to do, because there's a part that you play and there's a part that he plays. Sovereignty works with human responsibility and accountability and agency. God rains down manna, but doggone it, you got to pick it up and make the bread. See, yeah, he'll sovereignly give you what you cannot get for yourself, but now you got to make something of it when he gives it. You got to have the discipline, wait a minute, and the discernment. Now, listen, he'll help you with that. He'll give you discernment if you ask him. He'll give you wisdom if you ask him. James chapter 1. Count it all joy when you fall into, wait a minute. Count it all joy when you fall into diverse temptations, knowing that the testing of your faith, the trying of your faith is working patience. Let patience have its perfect work so that you will be thoroughly furnished, complete, that you will be perfect. And if any man lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who giveth to all men liberally and upbraideth not. What is he literally saying there? Count it all joy. I'm going to paraphrase this thing. Count it all joy when God disrupts your schedule, because he might be up to something. And if you don't know what he's up to, ask him. Say, Lord, now wait a minute. Now, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I got my team. I'm working on everything you're supposed to be. Why ain't this thing working? That's where discernment comes. Lord, give me insight. Show me what's happening. Luke chapter 1. I'm not going to read it all, but I've pointed out to you so you can read it. Luke chapter 1. I'm sorry. Luke chapter 5, verses 1 through 11. Luke chapter 5, verses 1 through 11. It's a story of Jesus was out on the Sea of Galilee, the Lake of Gennesaret, I think some translations will say. And he saw two boats out there with the fishermen there, but the fishermen weren't in their boats because, number one, it wasn't fishing time, and number two, they were washing the nets and mending their nets. And so one of the boats happened to be Simon Peter's. And so Jesus asked Simon, let me use your boat. And he used the boat as sort of a pulpit, as a platform. He pushed the boat out a little bit so Jesus could sit on the boat and talk to the people on the shore, using the water as a natural amplification system and the boat as his platform, as his pulpit, so that he wouldn't be crushed by the people. So after he had taught the people for a while, the Bible says he told Peter, this is in verse 4, Luke chapter 5, verse 4, when he had finished speaking, he said to Simon, put out into the deep and let down your nets for a catch. And Simon answered, Master, we toiled all night and took nothing, but at your word, I'll let down the nets. And when they had done this, they enclosed a large number of fish and their nets were breaking. They signaled to their partners in the other boat, come and help them. And they began to fill both boats so that they began to sink. Now, what happened here. A few things I want you to pay attention to. Okay. Peter and his fellows, the text says Simon Peter, had been fishing all night. They are fishermen. That's what they do. They have the discipline. They have the equipment. They have the partnership. They doing what they do, and it ain't working. It didn't work all night. And Jesus shows up and says, he tells them to do something that is not only counterintuitive, but don't make no sense. We worked all night and didn't get nothing there. You telling us to go back out? Number one, it ain't the right time of day. If you lived in that area of the world, you would know that they didn't fish at that time of day. Number two, they definitely didn't go out into the deep, because they would go to where the fish, and you could actually see this on YouTube. You can Google this. They would come in the, for lack of a better word, toward the shallows to catch the fish as they were coming in to eat the smaller fish and all those types of things. And on top of all of that, Jesus, you're a carpenter. We fishermen. He could have said, look, you stick to the hammer and the nail and stuff. We got this. But Jesus disrupted their little routine. Now, two things I want you to pay attention to as it relates to your routine. If you're doing everything that God, if you have the discipline to follow a routine, and you know that this routine is designed to get a desired end, and ain't nothing working, you're not getting any traction. You're like, what's happening here? I know that listen, I've checked and there's no observable sin in my life. There's nothing I'm doing wrong. As a matter of fact, I know this is the right thing to do, but it's not working. I fish all night long and ain't got now fish. That's country talk. It could be a setup. And this is where discernment comes in. If what you're doing is not working, ask God. I'm talking about the routine. You're not getting the desired result. You're exercising and eating right or whatever, but you're still not seeing the desired. Talk to God about that thing. You're working with your finances. You're trying to save. You're trying to cut your expenses, but you seem like you're not getting the traction you want. Talk to God about that. You're in your relationship. You're doing all you're supposed to do, but you're in community, or you're in partnership with your significant other, or with your siblings or whatever. And it seems like you're not getting any traction, even though you're doing your part. Okay. When you're doing everything you're supposed to do, and you have the discipline to continue to your routine, you got to add to discipline discernment. God, what's happening here? What's going on here? What do I need to do differently, because I'm not getting the desired result from this routine that I know is ordained by you? They were fishermen. They were doing what they were supposed to do, fishing where they were supposed to fish, when they were supposed to fish, the way they were supposed to fish, and it wasn't working. They fished all night long, but wait a minute, but then they fooled around and got a word from Jesus. Now listen carefully. If you pay attention to the text, they were in the right place because they could hear Jesus speaking. Now we don't know what Jesus talked to the crowd about, but we do know what Jesus said individually to Simon. I need you to understand, if you ask him, God will speak to you. I'm talking about today. Today, when you go to your worship service, or even now while I'm speaking, I'm speaking in general, but if you're asking, God will tell you exactly how what I'm saying applies to you. It applies in this area. God will tell you, this is what I'm trying to tell you right here in this area. Pay attention to what he's saying. Yeah, it's not because you have a lack of discipline. It's that you need to ask me for discernment. Why is this not working? Because the secret things, the hidden things belong to God. He'll unveil to you, he'll reveal to you some things that you could not otherwise know. That, okay, well, Lord, I'm working out, I'm eating right, all this kind of stuff. Why am I not seeing what I need to see as it relates to my health? And he'll reveal to you because you're not rested. You're not getting enough rest. You're stressing out about your health or your weight or whatever, and you're not getting enough sleep because here's another component. Let me just say this, just in passing. Number one, you cannot exercise your way out of a bad diet, so you got to eat right. You can exercise all you want with your diet, but if you don't get enough rest, if you don't sleep right, your cortisol levels are going to be high, and you're still going to have a big belly belt around your middle because you hadn't done what I tell you to do. Probably be trying to help. Jesus, I try to help and they ain't listening to me. Eat your colors, drink more water, move your body, but wait a minute, you got to, I don't hear nobody, type it in, lay your fat head down. You got to get some rest. But here's what I'm saying. If that was your desired outcome, that is better health or whatever, God will show you, okay, here's where you sort of missing something. He'll give you a word, even through things like this 30-day challenge, or even while I'm speaking right now. He'll give you a word. It's not that you don't have the discipline. You need discernment. He'll give you a word to show you why you're not getting traction. You're paying your tithes. You're saving something. You're still in debt. Say, well, man, I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do. Why can't I get my finances in order? Ask God to give you wisdom. Ask God to give you insight. And he might tell you, okay, part of the problem is, yeah, you are tithing. Yeah, you are trying to save some money, but you're not paying attention to all of the little things that are draining your account. How you got subscriptions that you ain't even using. When's the last time you checked on your bill because they charging you extra for something that you didn't even ask for? Why you and your child, or you and your spouse, both of y'all got Amazon Prime. Use one thing. Why y'all paying for extra? Why you got HBO 7, 8, 9, and 10, but you say you're supposed to be reading your Bible more? You see what I'm saying? If you talk to him, he'll give you discernment. He'll give you insight that you would not otherwise be able to have. Jesus told Peter, he said, now, I know you've been, in essence, I'm paraphrasing this thing. He said, you're in class and you've been hearing me talk while you were washing your little nets because I'm using your boat as a pulpit. But now let me give you a word directly for you. In this area where you've been struggling and straining and you haven't gotten any traction, here's what I need you to do. I want you to do something out of the ordinary. I want you to do something that seems counterintuitive to you. I want you to obey my word. Listen, children, very often when you're not getting traction on your job, in your finances, in your family, in your relationship, you're doing what you're supposed to do. You got the discipline, but you're not getting traction. Sometimes God is setting you up for some divine intervention. He's setting you up to change that thing once and for all. You've been praying. See, very often we don't connect the dots. You praying that God would get rid of all of these generational patterns and all these types of things. And that's what you prayed, but you forgot that in the background. And so he's doing something over here and you're trying to figure out, well, why this ain't working? Well, it's a setup because more times than not, the Lord is doing more than one thing at a time. In other words, he's helping you get your health together and dealing with that generational pattern. He's helping you get your relationships together and setting you up so that you can have the business or run the agency like he wants it to be run. But he can't trust you up there with that if he can't get you delivered from this over here. And so, very often, listen carefully, when you're not getting traction, as you ask God for discernment, you got to be quick and thorough with your obedience. Even if it doesn't make sense to you, because it's a setup. And the window might not stay open all day long. Listen, look at what happened in the text. Jesus told Peter, he said, man, go out into the deep, put it out into the deep, go out into deep water. Go out into the unfamiliar, go out into the place where ain't nobody else at. All the rest of the fishermen there close. They're out here mending or washing their nets. He said, go out yonder where ain't nobody else out there, and then put down your net for a catch. Peter said, man, we've been fishing all night. He said, but you know what? Because you said it, we're going to do it. What happened? There was so much fish, he couldn't even hardly pull them in. He had to call out to Peter and John. If you read between the lines and read the rest of the chapter, you understand that Peter and Andrew, brothers in the fishing business, and their partners, their buddies, James and John, the sons of Zebedee, they were in the other boat. When Peter and them couldn't, it was like, man, we got too many fish. They hollered at the fellas, man, come on and help us. They had to get 2 big old boats, and both of them were sinking because of all of the fish. In other words, it was a miracle. But listen carefully, if there had not been discipline on the front end and partnership and discernment, when God brought forth the miracle, they wouldn't have been able to handle the blessing. They were in community. It was 2 boats, James and John, Peter and Andrew. So he was doing what he was supposed to do in terms of that piece. He was disciplined. What was the discipline part? He was washing his nets. What if the nets hadn't been ready? What if Jesus said, go out into the deep and put it down? But he had to have the discipline to keep the nets ready. Now think about it. He'd been fishing all night long. He could have just said, man, I'm done. He just put the nets up. I'm sick of these old nets. No, the text says he was washing the nets. As Jesus was teaching, he was getting his nets ready, washing his nets. So that when Jesus said, put out for the deep, even though it didn't make no sense, because he had the discipline to have the nets ready, because he had the accountability, the partnership with James and John, when he put out the nets and there was too many fish for him to handle, here it is. The little nets can hold a little bit because he had them prepared. And for that, which was the overflow, he called his buddies in. And now everybody gonna eat. Here's what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say something here, children. Sometimes God is setting you up to be a blessing. And he's doing it by disrupting your routine. Your regular routine thing, it ain't working. You say, well, man, why ain't this working? It's because it's a setup. He's talking about setup to be a blessing. Think about it. Jesus, in verse 4, he told Simon, said, go out to the deep. Go out where ain't nobody else willing to go and do what ain't nobody else willing to do. I'm saying something to somebody. Go out where ain't nobody else out there. Ain't nobody else around. Go out in the deep and put your nets down. I see you didn't wash them. You prepare them. Put them out there. And guess what? He had such an abundance, he had to call James and John, who hadn't even gone out there. Listen, maybe God is trying to set you up so you can be a blessing to somebody else. Peter and Andrew, they had enough to eat, but they had so much it was making the boats. Am I reading my Bible right? Look in your Bible. Verse 6, it says, when they had done this, done what Jesus told them to do. Went someplace nobody else was willing to go, to do something nobody else was willing to do. They enclosed a large number of fish and their nets were breaking. Verse 7, they signaled to their partners in the other boat to come and help them. And they came and filled, am I reading my Bible? Filled both boats so that they began to sink. Listen, if you will allow the Holy Spirit to give you discernment, not only can you eat, other folk can eat. Listen, not only will you be blessed, other folk will be blessed. Your partners will be blessed. Maybe God is trying to send a blessing through you for other people. Listen, man, let me see if I got this right. Because if what I'm saying is right, then we should see it in other places in the Bible. Come here, Moses. Stay listening to me. Moses had a routine. What would he do? He was out there on the backside of the mountain taking care of his father-in-law's sheep. And he saw, wait a minute, his routine got disrupted. He saw a bush burning, but the bush wouldn't burn up. See, let me go see this. Let me get some discernment. I've been taking care of my sheep. I've been doing what I'm supposed to do. And things have not worked out for me because I felt like I was supposed to deliver my people. That's why I'm out here on the backside of the mountain. I saw somebody mistreating an Israeli, and I took matters in my own hand, and now I'm out here. He said, let me go see why this bush ain't burning up. When we saw the bush, God said, oh, I done disrupted his routine. Now, let's see if he can get some discernment. Moses came over there. He said, man, take your shoes off. Sit down and let me talk to you for a while. Listen, Moses obeyed. He went where nobody else was willing to go. He did what nobody else had ever done. He sat and talked with God. And God said, look here, I'm going to use you. I'm going to make you a blessing. I've heard my people's cry. I've seen their struggle, and I'm going to get my people out, and I'm going to use you. And Moses became the lawgiver, the deliverer that delivered God's people. And along the way, he had a whole lot of disruptions. Remember, he was doing what he was supposed to do, and the people were complaining, we ain't got no water. It's a setup. He had followed the cloud. He doing what the Lord told him to do, going everywhere he's supposed to go. Moses told the Lord, said, man, these people, they're getting ready to kill me, man. He said, man, this just ain't nothing but a setup. He said, see that rock over there? Go speak to the rock. Go do something. Ain't nobody. Go do something that don't make no sense and see if I won't make a blessing out of that thing. Spoke to the rock. Here come water out of the rock. Gave refreshment to all the people. Come here, Ruth. They ain't listening to me. Ruth. She decided she was going to listen. She decided I'm going to stick with my mother-in-law. Things haven't worked out in my life like they were supposed to. My husband died. My brother-in-law died. Matter of fact, my father-in-law died. I'm going to stick with the old lady. She's been good to me. And matter of fact, I'm going to follow her wherever it goes. Her God going to be my God because this old lady been good to me. What did she do? Old lady said, look, I want you to get into the discipline of just going out and working every day. Just go out in the fields. And when you go out to the corners and, they're supposed to leave some food for widows, just like you and me. And just go do that. Just go in your regular routine. Just get in the discipline of doing what you're supposed to do. And what happened? Here come Boaz. I'm talking about a disrupted routine that was a setup for divine intervention. All I'm trying to say is, let me personally testify, and I got to get off of this. I'm done because I said I was going to finish this up today. I'm trying to help you. It's not enough to have the discipline and everything else we've been talking about these last few weeks. You got to have the discernment to recognize when God is telling you to do something nobody's ever done, to go somewhere nobody's ever gone, because it's a setup so you can listen, not only so you can eat, but so you can feed other people. When I graduated from law school, me and my friends, I want you to pray for me. One of my childhood friends passed away, brother, beloved, known each other for, a good 50 something years. And we all, when we were teenagers, we made a commitment that, hey, we're all going to graduate from college. We're going to come back and work in the community. And he did that. He did that better and more profoundly than all the rest of us. For 30 years, he was a director of an agency there in Kankakee, Illinois, where he literally helped thousands of people. But when I graduated from law school, I came back to Kankakee, wanted to help, and guess what? Didn't have a job, didn't know how to get a job. It might have been like one other black attorney in town. He was working for the state's attorney's office. But wait a minute. I had the discipline to go to the law library every day. And I said, well, if I ain't got a job, I could at least help. Matter of fact, there was a deacon at Morning Star named Sam Dixon, and he was having some legal trouble. I said, well, you know what? I don't have a job, don't have a prospect of a job, but I can maintain the discipline of going to the law library, and let me at least try to help Uncle Sam with what he was trying to do. While I was in the law library, a man named Leonard Sachs, who ultimately became my senior partner and a man beloved, he came into the law library. It just so happened, I was there and he came in the law library and he asked me, who are you? I told him who I was. He said, what you doing? I said, just graduated from law school, this, that, and other. And I asked him a question. I said, well, how do you determine how much you're supposed to charge a client? And he gave me an answer and we just got into a dialogue. And make a long story short, he basically offered me a job. But here's the kicker. He said, I don't have a full-time position for you. He said, but if you get on at the public defender's office, maybe we could work something out. So I went immediately to the public defender's office to try to apply there. I said, well, the way our public defender's office is set up, you can't be a public defender unless you already have a full-time job. In other words, all of our public defenders are part-time. You got to have your own practice. And then you can become a public defender. So it was a catch-22. I couldn't become a public defender because I didn't have my own practice. The one who wanted to hire me said, well, I can't hire you unless you become a public defender. This is what happened. I'm talking about discipline. I said, well, Lord, what am I supposed to do? While I was praying, we still don't know how this happened. While I was praying, the public defender's office called me and said, okay, you got a job. I ain't got no office. I went to Mr. Sachs. I said, they hired me at the public defender's office. He said, well, how did you get on if you don't have an office? I said, I thought you talked to him. He said, I didn't talk to him. He said, well, if you got it, I'll let you in. Divine intervention. I talked to nobody has ever been able to explain it to me. Because Sachs, I said, well, I thought you talked to him. He said, I ain't talked to nobody. I ain't said nothing to nobody since I talked to you. I asked the public defender, I said, why you hire me? He said, I don't know. They told me to do that. I know what happened. Discipline, discernment, divine intervention. So that I could be a blessing. Wait a minute. And not only did I get a job, but I was able to bless people. I was the first, at that time, the only African-American public defender in Kankakee County's history. I was able to do things and all that kind of stuff. All I'm trying to say is, if what you're doing is not giving you the traction that you desire, but you know that you're doing the right thing, ask God for discernment. Lord, show me what's happening, because something is going on underneath the surface. But more importantly, I believe you set me up to turn this whole thing around. He's setting you up not for your destruction, but for your development. He's setting you up so that prayers can be answered and you can be a blessing to other people. But you need discernment, because maybe it's not you. It's not that you don't have a lack of discipline. Maybe there's somebody else in the equation who is being disobedient, or maybe there's something else going on beneath the surface. And God will give you discernment. Wait a minute. And when he gives you the discernment, it's so that you can trust him to say, okay, now I see what's happening. Now show me the next right move. And then more times than not, he's going to tell you to do something somebody ain't ever done, or go someplace somebody ain't willing to go, so that everybody can be blessed. So that when it's all said and done, not only will you be blessed. Come here, David. I said I was done. David, you remember David was 1 Samuel chapter 30. David was off doing, conquering things and doing what the Lord said do. Fooling around, and while he was gone, his whole family and all the families of his boys got kidnapped. David came back and they was talking about stoning him. What did David do? He said, look, I need some discernment. He got that ephod and the Lord, what am I supposed to do? God said, look, go after him and you'll get everything back. Now, in other words, go where don't make no sense to go. Do what I'm telling you to do and you'll recover all. What happened? Read 1 Samuel chapter 30. David got it all back. David got it all back, but if you really read the scripture, he not only got everything back that they took from him, he took all their stuff. And then he went throughout all the cities, blessing all the other people with the stuff that he had gotten back, because he asked God, give me discernment. God said, there ain't nothing but a setup. You're going to get it all back and you're going to take their stuff too. Listen, I'm done. I thank you for your patience. I want you this week to spend an extra amount of time listening for God's voice. So Lord, and ask him, Lord, tell me, I want you to ask the Lord two things. Number one, Lord, show me what I would not otherwise know unless you showed me. Show me what's really going on. Show me what's happening behind closed doors, beneath the surface. Give me discernment. In other words, show me what I would not know other than you revealing it to me. Because I'm not getting traction. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, but it's not moving. It's not working. I've been fishing all night, ain't caught nothing. So show me what I don't know that only you can reveal. And then number two, show me the next right thing to do. Show me the next right thing to do. Okay, I can't control fish. I've been fishing all night. I can't control fish. I done tried everything I'm supposed to do. I can't control fish. What am I supposed to do? And more likely than not, he's going to show you the deep you're supposed to go into and the net you're supposed to let down. And then guess what? You going to eat and everybody else going to eat too. It's a setup, children. That's all it is. Discipline, discernment, divine intervention. God loves you. I love you too. Looking forward to a great day of worship. Get on to church. And what was the thing today? Today you're supposed to do your food journal. Journal everything you eating. See, there it is right there. Discipline. You say, well, why ain't I losing weight? Well, you ain't even paying attention to everything you've eaten. Them Doritos and them, all that other stuff. To write all of that down. And then let's see exactly where you are. And then God will give you discernment of where you're supposed to be. Catch you later.